What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here for the Monday Night Wars. This is the WCW side, week 77, the 82nd episode of Nitro, but the 77th week they've gone head-to-head with WWF Raw. Nitro beats Raw for the 40th week in a row. The scores were 3.7 to 2.2. So through 77 weeks, Nitro has 58 wins to WWF 17 and 2 draws. This is the Nitro with a 3.7 rating. For the first hour, it's the living legend Larry Zbyszko doing color commentary with Tony Schiavone. Mike Tenay and Bobby Heenan join Schiavone as they take Zbyszko's spot for hour 2. This is on April the 7th, 1997. We open with a shot of the Spring Stampede from the night before where DDP Diamond Cutter Savage in the main event to get the victory. This is the next night on Nitro, live on TNT from the Von Braun Civic Center in Huntsville, Alabama. April 7th, 97, as said, Tony says we have a jam-packed 2 hours and we're ready to go. We see screenshot clips of DDP hitting the Diamond Cutter on Savage and celebrating with Kimberly at Spring Stampede. Schiavone mentions that DDP won the big match and there's some dissension in the ranks of the nWo currently. We open up with Hugh Morris and Conan taking on Alex Wright and Psychosis. Great agility by Psychosis and a spin kick in the ring. They show DDP on a split screen showing up to the arena. Alex Wright with the missile drop kick and a reverse elbow to Conan. Right up top with a flying crossbody and a kick out. Alex Wright turned over by Morris, who goes for the no laughing matter moonsault, hits it for the victory, and in the end, Conan, the Dungeon of Doom with Hugh Morris are the victors. I rated the match a star and 3/4. Next up, Rey Mysterio Jr. taking on Lord Steven Regal. Hollywood Hogan and the nWo show up backstage during the match. Regal went for a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker, but got hit with an arm drag takedown, then a springboard dropkick. Ray sends Regal from the top canvas floor with another Hurricane Rana, but 2 near falls. Regal with a gut-wrench suplex, then the Regal stretch. Ray reached for the ropes in the end. Regal was disqualified because he wouldn't let go of the Regal stretch that he had on Rey Mysterio Jr. So Ray wins by DQ. Prince Aoki came in and went for Regal, but he ended up getting the Regal stretch himself. Rated the match 2 stars. We have another limo arriving with nWo members. It's the other half of the nWo. The nWo Sting, not Sting, but the nWo Sting. Nash, Six, Bagwell, Savage and company. Savage is on crutches, and they're coming out. Whereas Hogan came out with Vincent, Bischoff, DiBiase, and Scott Norton, I think, in a different limo. Chris Benoit with Woman took on Ice Train. Ice Train backhanded chop into a chopping war, a big splash by Ice Train into Benoit. During the match, the nWo seem to be divided backstage and they argue in a split screen. Then they go on the same page. Savage says Bischoff has gotten soft since his suspension. And Bischoff says, no, I got smart, not soft. In the end, Benoit puts away Ice Train after a DDT. I rated the match star and 3/4. They show backstage the screening of the movie Double Team where Rodman and Van Dam, they're on the red carpet. Rodman talks nWo business to the microphone. So does Hollywood Hogan. Kevin Sullivan takes on Hector Guerrero. Hector looks just like Eddie, his brother, his older brother. Just age to him. Kevin Sullivan with rights and chops to Hector on the outside. Jacqueline with kicks and a suplex to Hector Guerrero. Jacqueline looking awesome on the outside, doing wrestling moves to men. Kevin Sullivan Irish whipped into the corner, but Sullivan hits with headbutts. Thrown to the outside again for Jacqueline to kick the shit out of Hector, and she does a damn good job of it. Sullivan then with the Tree of Woe, running knee by Sullivan, and then a double stomp gives Kevin Sullivan the victory at a star. I give it a star and a half. The New World Order's music hits, and they come to the ring in 2 different groups pretty much. Hogan with a few guys, Vincent, DiBiase, Bischoff, and Nash with the rest. Scott Hall's the only guy not there, but he's dealing with personal issues. My bet is he's in rehab or something. Savage is because they didn't give the reason. They just said, Nash said last week, something that's more important than wrestling. So what could that be, right? Nash says to Hogan, I don't have to love you, but I respect you. DiBiase says there's turmoil in the family, and Hogan tells Nash publicly that he had a problem with Hollywood bringing in Rodman and going to Chicago for the film's red carpet. Nash says he has no problem with Rodman, but he sat in the hotel room with 6 and was a little grouchy last week. Hogan says the next Easter you can go to the nWo Easter hunt. Hogan says, ask the status of Hall. Nash says Scott Hall I've known for 7 years, and you can bet that Scott Hall is nWo for life. Fans chant, we want Sting. Hogan says Sting is about to get stung. Macho was the only one in the group that a bit mad right now, but Savage on crutches wanted to patch things up with Bischoff. Savage says he's on probation for Tinner, but he's on probation for him too. And Bischoff says that's okay with me, and they do a too sweet hand signal. New World Order patch things up basically in that segment. The pyros go off, and we open up hour 2 of Nitro. Ric Flair comes to the ring, and he goes, mean! Woo! Gene! Huntsville, Alabama. What's causing all this? Flair calls out Roddy Piper. Piper comes out, and they talk about Kevin Green being on their side. They all bond as a unit in suit. Flair, Piper, and Green all together, and perhaps for Slamboree against the nWo. That's the basics of that segment. The nWo together, but so are Flair, Piper, and Green. Dean Malenko defends the U.S. title against Chris Jericho. Jericho took on Regal last week. This is the man of 1,000 holds. Jericho with a quick spinning kick after a series of leapfrogs and counters. Incredible opening sequence. Jericho with a dropkick to Malenko to the outside. Then a missile dropkick. Jericho with a backslide, almost a 3 count. Dean Malenko with a deep power bomb, and he puts on the Texas Cloverleaf. And he gets out with a superplex, does Jericho. Malenko grabs Jericho by the head as he slammed his head into the buckle, and Malenko covers Jericho, and that's it. Jericho's head is hurt. We have an injury here as Jericho may have broken his nose or orbital bone, something in the face. It was good while it lasted, but it didn't last long, so I gave it a 1.5 stars. High Voltage, Chaos and Rage versus the Public Enemy. Chaos, double suplex by Grunge and Rocco Rock. Robbie Rage with Rocco Rock, double axe handle off the apron to the floor. Rock sent into the ring as Chaos and Rage make frequent tags, and they double team Rocco Rock. Johnny Grunge in as he takes Rocco Rock to Robbie Rage, and then a double back pick to Kenny Chaos. Rock places Chaos on the table, and Grunge came off with a somersault plancha onto the table, and he crashed through it. Meanwhile, Rage hits with a Northern Light suplex. High Voltage get the victory. So it's in the end, it's a big victory for High Voltage, maybe their biggest over the Public Enemy. As Chaos and Rage are usually a serviceable tag team on Nitro, but usually they're doing the job. Here they get the victory. Gave it 2 stars. Grunge after the match said, sometimes it works for you, sometimes it doesn't. Harlem Heat takes on Jeff Jarrett and Steve Mongo McMichael. Booker T begins clobbering Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett leapfrogs over Booker and hits him with a couple of hip tosses and a right hand. Stevie Ray backs JJ into a corner, and Double J struts around Booker with a Harlem sidekick. Deborah can't find Mongo on the other side, as it's just Double J versus Harlem Heat. So it's a 2-on-1. Stevie Ray throws Double J into the corner. Sunset flip by Jarrett as he tried a pinning attempt. Booker made the save. A lot of repressed near fall as Deborah says to the camera that this is what stresses her out. Sherry on the outside slapped Jarrett, but Jarrett still comes back with a backslide attempt on Booker T. Booker T comes out of that. It's 2-on-1 for quite a length of time. Eventually, a Harlem sidekick does him in, even though Mongo resurfaces at the end. Gave it 2 stars as Harlem Heat defeat Jeff Jarrett and Mongo, even though Mongo was gone. Mongo then reappears, and Jarrett says, where the hell were you? Your wife can't be here, but you can't be? Mongo then talks about nonsense and doesn't answer Jarrett. So that story is going to continue. We have the Ultimo Dragon taking on Prince Ayuki for the TV title. Prince Ayuki has an injured midsection, and Prince Ayuki loses the TV title to the Ultimo Dragon. The Ultimo Dragon wins the title and takes off with Sonny Ono as manager. Gave the match a 1.25 stars after Prince Ayuki was hurt. So Ultimo Dragon, it was a very quick match. It wasn't very long. Not much substance, but the Ultimo Dragon is the new TV champion. After the match, Sonny Ono patted the belt and said, good, new Cruiserweight champion. Not U.S. Cruiserweight. We then go to Spring Stampede highlights. Then Giant, Scott Steiner were going to come to the ring, but the Dungeon of Doom jumped them. Conan and Hugh Morris. And then the Giant chased them to the back, so the Giant and Scott Steiner shook hands. Then DDP comes to the ring to end the show and says last night he beat one of the biggest stars in wrestling history in Savage. And he called him out. He said if Savage has got any guts, he called him out. Savage came on his crutches, but then Hollywood Hogan stops Savage and says, this is for me. I'll take on DDP. But then all of a sudden Sting came from the rafters. Sting has his bat. Him and DDP both are in the ring, and they point their bats towards the nWo. And the nWo stop in the hallway while you got Sting and DDP in the ring pointing their bats at Hogan. That was awesome. I gave this episode a 6.5 out of 10 because the ending segment alone was just enough to give this a quality rating. There was some good wrestling on the night, but that ending segment with DDP and Sting against the nWo was something else. So that does it for this Nitro, 6.5 out of 10. We'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Brett Mix, and I'm out.